So now this is the fourth pond video, and pretty much everything looks different from what you guys saw last. So it was quite a long time ago when I filmed the other three pond videos, and now we're at this point, and a lot has happened since you guys last saw this. So I'm gonna kind of walk through what I've done, and I haven't really filmed it, so I'm sorry about that. I have obviously put the moss in, and as well I put grass in. I'm sorry if there's wind right now. There's probably going to be throughout this video. I'm sorry about that. Basically what I did is I was tired of just seeing the plain felt. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, go check out the last one. I'll have links or something somewhere in this video for the last pond video. But basically, there was felt over expanding foam over this whole area. And I was tired of seeing that, and I was tired of waiting, because what I was going to do was go hiking somewhere, find really nice patches of moss, bring them home. Well, I didn't have a whole lot of time for that, and I was just tired of waiting, so I just walked around my yard and I found patches of moss, and then I started placing them all over everything, and at this point they've all grown in really nicely and done really well. Most of the areas have done very well. So this is just how it is, I guess. It's pretty amazing. I kind of really love it completely. So as I named the last video of the completely seamless waterfall, and I think I really did that here, which is like amazing. So it's not grown in like a ton, like it's not covering things yet, and it's not completely grown in. But what I like about the grass, because the grass wasn't something that was intentional, it's just there's gonna be grass in the moss that I take from my yard, as well as some other plants thrown in there as well that came with the moss, is that those plants grow into the felt. So if you see like right there, that area is really established, and if I like yank on that, like yank on the grass, it's not moving. It's there. It's grown into the felt. So the grass really helps anchor it, makes it look more natural, and I honestly really love it, even though it's not exactly what I imagined originally. So it's awesome, and I think that this is really great. So the creeping jenny's been growing in really well. You can see right there, there's some under that, and then back there's creeping jenny, as well as like the random plants. I'll walk around to the spillway. So I kind of, originally I wanted to have a lot of plants growing in the spillway, and I think I will eventually, but I kind of just put bark down that had moss on it, and then I put some moss on top of that as well, just like this. So as you can see here, like all of this is really wet and grown in, and like it's not coming up, it's grown down in. Same with this stuff. Well, at least I think this stuff would probably come up a little bit easier, but this is like super wet. There was a piece of hens and chicks that I put right there. I don't know if it's gonna make it in this, but it's like grown in, and I think that's fantastic, and I'm hoping that it'll cover up this area and like really cover up all around here. Like I'm hoping this gets real big and stuff and everything. But at this point, I'm kind of done with the pond, and now it's just like, how's it gonna come in next year, you know? So it's gonna get cold, and then I'm hoping that next year everything's just gonna grow in a ton, and it's gonna look really amazing. So let's talk about what else I've done after this. So as I said in the last video, I wanted to wait until I put the moss in to add the plants, because I had to get in the pond and drain the pond to put the moss in, and it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it. There's a lot of felt underneath here, like underneath the water, that you can't see. Like it's in the water and it's not covered in moss, but you can't see it, so I don't really care. And that isn't covered or anything, so I didn't really have to drain it like too much. But again, I wanted to wait till after. So after I added the moss and it had been doing pretty well. I caught out 2 rosy red minnows out of my community fish tank. So I made sure I got a male and a female. I should have done like a different ratio, but I just did 2. And those are, the rosy red minnows are also known as fathead minnows, and they're native species, except the rosy red minnows are like the axanthic version of the fathead, and they're common feeder fish. So that's actually how I got them. I didn't buy them as feeder fish, but people gave me them with their turtles, so that's how I have a group of rosy red minnows. And I really enjoy minnows, and they do really well. They kind of school and everything. I think they're really fascinating, so that's why I have them in my aquarium. That's why I wanted to move them out to the pond to breed more. So I added those in, and about 10 days later, or 11 days later, on August 13th, I had babies. Okay, so this is nuts, and surprisingly it didn't, or unsurprisingly, it didn't take very long. There are a ton of fry right here, like maybe, I don't know, 20 to 50 maybe, about the size of mosquito larvae, but they're for sure fish. And they're the rosy red minnows that I added in here for sure. And I just added a male and a female. In I guess retrospect, I should have added more females, and then like 5 females to a male or something like that. I just added 1 and 2, and now there's a bunch of babies. So I'll start feeding this tank more often, but I'm assuming that because of the fact that they bred, and yeah, they actually bred, so I'm assuming there's a plentiful amount of food. I know there's lots of mosquito larvae for just 2 fish in this one, or over 100-gallon pond, and I don't know if there's like insects that are small enough for the babies to eat, so hopefully they will make it. This is very cool. The problem, actually, now I think about it, the filter can like 100% suck them up. So that's another thing, and if they were to get sucked into the filter, they're gone. Like, even if, they'd probably survive like the spinner and go up the tube, and then the tube would kind of shoot them into the bottom of the filter. So, like, I guess if they were really small, maybe, but I don't know. Not real great there, but that's crazy. There's so many. So hopefully they just keep producing them, and we like fill up this pond with fish. And that is exactly what happened. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there are lots of little minnows in this pond, like a lot of them. And there's lots of pretty big little minnows, and then there's also more babies as well. So it's been like a month since the first like babies appeared. So considering it only took a week for them to produce the first time, they've probably produced like 1 to 3 more times since then, and it definitely shows there's lots of fish in this tank. I still don't see the adults. I probably should mention that I've seen one of the adults once since I added them in, which was a month ago as of filming this. So that's kind of interesting, but babies keep appearing, so I know that the adults are there. I just never see them. But there are some pretty big babies now, which is really, really cool, and that is extremely fascinating. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do over the winter. I'm kind of worried because, this isn't a real big pond. It could, like, just freeze. Like, I don't think the entire pond would freeze, but if I didn't do anything, it would get pretty bad. So I'm gonna have a heater in here. I have a heater that I can put in here that's quite a large heater, and I will, I guess, kind of go with that and see how that goes, and hopefully that will keep enough of the water so then the fish will be fine. But that's why I don't want to add any turtles yet. I just want to see about what's going to happen this year, and then I'll try more things next year. So speaking of that, there aren't any turtles in here, and this has been set up for quite a while. The reason being is because there's tons of little fish in here, and I want to keep these fish going because not only do I want to keep them alive in the pond throughout the winter, I also want to bring quite a few of them in and raise them up over the winter, because the idea is if I can produce this many like all the time or a lot, then I will actually have a sustainable new food source for my turtles, and they would be actually good for the turtles to eat because they're like nice healthy fish for them. So that's kind of the idea part of it anyway. So I know I can't get all of the fish out, like that would just be impossible with this pond. Or at least it would be really, really hard. So not something I want to mess with, and I just don't think it would be worth it. So if I can keep them in here, I will. So as I said, I haven't added any turtles in here, and I don't plan to this year. And what I said earlier was at this point I'm kind of just waiting to see how everything turns out next year, and that's the truth really, is I don't want to add any turtles yet. I want to wait until next year when everything's grown in real well and I know how everything's gonna be, and then maybe I can keep turtles all year round in here, and possibly like native species or species that can handle this weather and everything that would roommate over the winter. Also, there are 2 frogs in here, so I might have mentioned that earlier. There's a bullfrog and then there's another frog. It's either another bullfrog or it's a northern green frog, which is a really common species here in Ohio. So one is for sure a bullfrog, and I see that almost all the time, and then I see the green frog a lot, which is really, really, really cool. I love seeing the frogs out here. I think that's fantastic. So other than just the pond, this whole area has changed. As you can see, the wall is finally up, and I didn't film it. I kind of worked on it with my dad. Mostly my dad did it. And that's because this is, you know, his yard. He likes his yard to look nice. And I figured if I did it, then he would judge it much more harshly, if that makes sense. So I was like, he can do it, and then he accepts whatever he does, you know? So, not that, yeah, I don't know. That's what made sense to me. Mostly because we had to hammer in these things into the ground, and I knew I wasn't going to get them straight, and I was really worried that the whole thing would be wonky and stuff. But not that it isn't kind of wonky, but I love it. I think it's great, and I mean it works, and that's about as much as I need of it. So as you can see here, it goes all the way around. We made sure some areas there's pieces of wood inside. It's more on the other side, but anyway, you can see it goes all the way around this area, which is really neat. And then here, like, there's certain areas that we have pieces inside to make sure the turtles don't get out and whatnot. So everything's completely sound as far as escape proof, and I don't see any turtles climbing this. Like, I don't think they will. I guess it's a possibility. I'll be sure to watch for it, but I just don't think that's going to be happening. So that's good, I guess. And then things inside have changed quite a bit. Things that I have done include adding this piece of wood. So I got a piece of wood from a local forest, and then I buried it here to kind of connect it with the piece that was coming there. So like that was a very similar piece. And now I have everything in, and then I left a little area there for anything that wants to live in there. Obviously the turtles aren't going to. I don't know, it's just kind of there for being there. And then there's this other nice piece of wood that's coming up like that, which I think looks really cool and has some moss growing on it. And then over on the other side, I added this piece of wood. So kind of the same deal. All under it there is a hide, essentially, for nothing. So that's something, I guess. And then I have this piece of wood, which is a cool piece of wood from Arizona that my friend brought to me. And he visited Arizona over the summer. And I will probably be using that in a future bearded dragon enclosure, I think. So that's kind of there for now. This is just a nice place to store it. And that's pretty much it, besides the really cool hosta plants stopped flowering, and then all my really green hosta plants flowered. And I mean, this is kind of like the end of them flowering, so a lot of the parts are dead, but I still think it looks very, very nice, and I think it's really cool. And then my pumpkin plant, which is in fact a pumpkin plant, has grown massively. So here you can see over here is where I planted it, thinking it was maybe a zucchini plant and it would stay small right there. And then it came around this way, branched off over there, and then went out over there. So it's literally touching both sides of this huge thing right here, which is crazy. And I think it looks really cool, and it kind of fills in this whole area, which is really nice. So I plan on doing this in the future for sure, because I think this is super cool. Like if I can have turtles and then grow like, you know, herbivorous reptile food at the same time, which are pumpkins. Like I don't use pumpkins for anything except feeding them to Charlie, my green iguana, as well as Beatrice, the Russian tortoise, and the roaches and the bearded dragon as well. So that's really awesome. I love that. And that kind of ties in everything else. So this was it for this video. Hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoy this pond, because I surely do. I literally visit it every single morning, probably multiple times a day. I just love it. I think it's super cool. And this is it for now. So hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, like it down below. If you have any comments or concerns, comments below. And if you want more content, then subscribe.